I grew up in South Carolina.
I remember every school, like in the South, kind of had an Indian guy. Was it like that at your school, or was there a big Indian group?
Well, so there's two versions of this.
Okay.
There's like, oh, if you're in like Atlanta or something, there's like the Indian crew, and they hang out.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's what I grew up with, which is like just me. And when I was little, I kind of forget this sometimes. In like first and second grade, there was this Thai girl, and her name was Tisha, which doesn't make sense. That doesn't really sound like a Thai name, but her name was Tisha. But they left.
Kind of a black tie affair.
It sounds like a black tie.
It sounds like a black tie affair.
She was Thai, and but they left, and then it was just me as Indian, and it's in the 80s, and it's so interesting to look back. I was thinking about this, and I had a conversation with my mom a while ago that really like blew me away. So first off, as soon as I tell people I grew up in South Carolina, they're always like, "Oh, it must have been so racist," all this stuff. And of course, there's moments where it wasn't nice, and
like
whatever.
people calling you almost N-word or something like that.
Oh, N-word, not almost.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, those people are nearsighted or whatever. I
don't know.
That's crazy.
But there was also, I feel like, there was a time I was writing something, and I asked my parents to just tell me, like, I didn't want to write stuff about people being racist to people. I wanted to write something positive. So I was like, tell me things you remember that were positive, like experiences you had, being because my parents are there in the 80s.
It was different for sure.
People there didn't even know what Indian people were. They didn't see them in the culture. They didn't see nothing.
Yeah,
they didn't understand.
It looks like a black person that they didn't finish the job on or whatever. Kind of, no judgment.
Let's just make sure that quote is attributed to you.
Yeah, for sure, dude. But I think it's like, because sometimes you do see that Indian dude, you're like, is this a black dude or an Indian dude?
But we're joking, but it is what people were saying. They had never seen Indian people before.
Yes,
and
I
they
agree.
were not in the media or anything. And so my experience, I'm talking about the positive stuff. First off, I skipped first and second grade. I did first and second grade in 1 year. So people were like, oh my God, this genius little brown boy.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I was in a small school. There was like 30 kids in my class. There's 8,000 people that live in my town. But I was raised by my parents, but
and first grade's fucking easy, dude.
First grade is easy. My dad would show me
the fact that it takes a whole year. You're like, what the fuck are we doing?
My dad would write little math problems and stuff for me, so I was really advanced in like math and stuff.
It's
so in the
easy.
middle
Go
of
back
first
and look
grade,
at it.
Yeah, no, you should be able to teach your kid all that stuff before
you
they
can
get
even
to
eavesdrop. You can tap into like classrooms and watch it. It's like, this is so fucking easy, dude. I wish you had a Ring camera in there and just be giving the kids the answers and shit.
What?
It's yellow. If they had like one of those Ring cameras, you could talk in like a children's class or whatever.
I mean, back then, no Ring camera. Just had my dad teaching me stuff. So by the time I was like halfway through first grade, they called my parents. They're like, you got to get him out of here. He's got to go up to second grade. And so I went to second grade, and that was like this big story in the school that some kid had skipped a grade.
Yeah, it's like when LeBron left Miami.
It was exactly like LeBron. I was like LeBron with like very elementary math problems.
Yeah, LeBron.
Yes, exactly. And but when I was thinking back about my childhood and talking to my parents, and there was these two ladies that took care of us. First off, I was talking to my mom, and she was talking about how when she came to South Carolina, my dad had been in America. He was in New Jersey doing his residency. Then he went back to India, married my mom, and then they came to South Carolina, where my dad moved, because he applied for these jobs all over the country. And in South Carolina, they didn't have a lot of the doctor he was. He was a gastroenterologist. So then they moved to South Carolina. My mom comes to South Carolina. This woman's never left India like this.
Fuck, that's crazy.
She's in Bennettsville, South Carolina. Not like, oh, you're in New York City. No, Bennettsville, South Carolina. And my dad brings her home, and then he has to go to work. And I asked my mom, I was like, what was that day like? And she was like, and I put this in my show. She said, oh, I just sat on the couch and I cried. And I was like, oh my God, it's so dark. It was like so much braver than I could be, I mean, there's no FaceTime, nothing, none of that. You're really alone. It was
There's
hard
cable television.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like to have a connection with your family or anything. There's no way to communicate.
Right. You're just praying and like lighting candles and putting those oranges in that little thing.
There's no even like making a long distance call was a different thing back then.
Yeah,
they had
it was like $11.
Yeah, it was not the way it is now where you could, so she was really alone, but she used to go and do laundry all the time to just be around other people.
Yeah.
And there was some lady there, an older white lady that recognized that, saw her with me and became friendly with her. And they called her grandma. I don't know the woman's real name actually. And I called her grandma. And she would take care of me and like kind of looked out for our family. And she eventually, I think she moved or something or whatever, but she couldn't take care of us anymore. And this woman, who we called Nana, is what her grandkids called her. She started taking care of us. And then there was this woman named Miss Beulah who would take care of us after school.
She had some tits on her, I bet.
Miss Beulah, rest in peace. I'm not going to comment
away,
on
my
that.
bad.
Yeah,
I didn't know that, and I hope.
Let's not. But Miss Beulah, as you might guess from the name Beulah, black woman from the South, and would cook the meanest Southern food for us. So I would eat Indian food and Southern food, and so Nana and Miss Beulah were part of my life, and I had a sister that passed away, and she was a few years younger than me, and she had a very rare. She had a something called Hurler syndrome. It's a super rare liver disease. Sorry, it's obviously a little heavy for me, but so she passed away.
What's her name?
Her name is Nafis.
Nafis. That's a pretty name, huh?
Yeah. And she passed away, and Nana passed away a few years ago when I was in college. It was a while ago now, and I didn't get a chance to. Miss Beulah, I got to say a proper goodbye to. I went and saw her when she was staying in a retirement home. Nana, I didn't have that same moment. I was in college, and it wasn't the same kind of thing where I had that opportunity to say bye. But my mom had told me that she went to go see, visit my sister at the cemetery, and my sister's buried in South Carolina in Bennettsville, and that is a tricky thing because my family's from a Muslim background, and they wanted to do. They were asking the cemetery, "Can we do the things we do for our culture?" And the cemetery was like, "Yeah, of course, whatever you need to do," which is just so cool to me that they were open to that, and the whole community, were visiting our family and everything. And I remember even like a priest came by to just, even though we were a different religion, he came and like wanted to talk to us and stuff, and everyone was just so kind about it. And my mom told me that she went to go see my sister at the cemetery, and she said, "Oh, and we saw Nana too." I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Well, Nana's buried right next to her."
No.
And I like melted as a human because I did not know that. And to me, like, I heard that and I was like, wow, like, I was saying all this stuff about crazy this country is and how crazy it feels right now, but that story, that doesn't happen anywhere else in the world, man. Like those two people, my sister and this woman
that
Nana,
befriended you guys.
Yeah. Have that close a bond where she's like, I want to be buried next to her. I mean, it was.
Wow.
I did not know that. And I heard that and I was like, I don't know why it popped in my head, but I'm so glad it did, and that I got to share that with you because I heard that story and I was like, man, people need to hear that story because it's not the story people
want to tell. Oh, it's not the story that the media wants to tell. It's not a story that
it's a story that doesn't really get the clicks.
But it's the story that's probably it's the truth that most people that the human part of us is what makes us special. And that's the part that we should all try and lean into the most is that we're this special thing that can care about each other,
Yeah. I mean, the fact that these people saw my parents and and tried to forge this bond with them. And I mean, I hope we're still a place where that kind of stuff can happen.
I think it happens a lot. I think you're just right. I think it's not it's not the news, you know, but I think it is more common probably than we think. Thanks for sharing that, dude. It is an important story. That's a great story.
Oof. Sorry.
Did your sister have it the whole time when she was growing up, when she was from birth?
Yeah, it was one of these things where, you know, the life expectancy with that hurlers is not it's not very long. She passed when she was like 6, 8 years old.
Oh.
Yeah.
And was she
And it's one of these things I don't really talk about it very much, and a lot of people even that know me don't know I had a sister, because people would ask me like, "Oh, do you have any siblings?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I got a little brother, and I had a sister that passed away." And I would say it like that, and then people are like, "Ah!" Like it's a very like heavy thing to hear all of a sudden. And so I was like, "Oh, I don't want to make people uncomfortable, so I'll just say, oh, I have a little brother." And then they'll be like, "What's you guys' gap?" "Oh, he's 7 years younger." "Wow, it's a big gap." "Yeah, I'm gonna not go down this thing because I don't want to bum everybody out because we're all just hanging out at Chick-fil-A right now."
Sitting there tapping her foot like, what are we doing here? No, dude, that's my sister was born with a rare liver disease, and she had to get a liver transplant when we were kids.
Oh, wow.
So we spent most of our childhood like you know, she was always this thing that we couldn't touch because she always had to have these surgeries and stuff. So I think it just reminds me like a lot of that. I think some of that kind
Oh, man.
that stuff. You know, I think it's just interesting when you grow up with a sibling that's sick, because I think I never even thought about it till you were saying some of this. It just like, I don't know, you have to adjust yourself, I think, to try and maybe, like my sister got most of the care, right? But she needed most of it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was weird. So there were times where I'd be like, I don't, you know, later on in life, I'd be like, oh, I didn't get this care. But it was like, I didn't need it the most, you know?
What was you guys' age difference?
2 years. And she's still alive. She ended up getting a liver transplant. She got one of the first liver transplants in, we moved to Arizona. She got it out there. But
that's incredible.
But it was just this whole time when she was a kid, she was always being flown off to these places, and they sounded magical, like Rochester, Minnesota, just different places where there's these big hospitals. And she'd come back like this, like almost like this Build-A-Bear that somebody done a shitty job with. You know what I'm saying? Like just all these scars and stuff. But it was just, she was always this, it was weird because you like couldn't hold it. It was just like, it was interesting. Did you have any experience like that with your sister, or what was it like?
There wasn't that kind of, there wasn't like all these things to try, because the hurlers is pretty, they don't really have a thing. You know, there's like, you know, oh, you can maybe do a bone marrow transplant, but it's not really a thing they've made much progress on. So there was never anything like that. And I don't know, it's interesting talking to you about this, because you think about, it's like when you're a kid, it's so hard to understand what's happening. You have no frame of reference. And, you know, when I look back on that stuff as an adult, I can't imagine how hard it was for my parents. Like, you know, to have a child that has something like that, and then to lose a child, it's you know, I can't, it's strange to like step outside of yourself. And honestly, this is like some of the most I've talked about it with anybody.
And I don't mean to pry about it. It's just,
and there's also a thing no, not at all. I don't think prying at all. And I think it's really interesting that, you know, you had something, your sister had something as well. And but you know, there's a thing with like Indian families, and you know, maybe it's a lot of families in that time. It's like you don't talk about stuff.
Oh, really? Is that like an Indian thing, kind of?
I think there's something of like, oh, you're not as open about your feelings and stuff, and you're just a little bit more closed off. I think so, yeah. With Asian families, Indian families, I think with emotional stuff like that, you know.
But you guys do reincarnation, so you're probably just like, oh, we can have the feelings later. We can have this.
That's in Hinduism. That's a different thing. But
oh, really? Fuck.
Yeah.
So you guys are one time only?
Islam, it's the same as Christianity. It's you know, in terms of that stuff. As far as I know, I'm not a super religious guy, but yes, that's there's the reincarnation is just in Hindu culture.
Dang, so you guys are one and done, huh?
I mean, so is a lot of people.
Okay, I'm just saying, yeah. But yeah,
man, this got we really went for a heavy turn after micro donkeys.
It's
This is
okay.
this is you're teared up over here. I'm teared up. But it's good to talk about this stuff and you know it's so strange to think back about you know those times and
Yeah, to think about your
everything my
parents.
family went through,
That's the
especially
thing.
my parents.
I
You
know. I
know,
never think about that. I always think about things. This is one place that I kind of like struggle with, I think. A lot of times I'll think about certain periods and things that happened, and I'll only think about it like as to how it affected me.
mhm.
And it's like, man, to get into that place of where you're even thinking like, well, how did this affect my parents? Like I was eating dinner with some friends yesterday, and in the background, she has like these 4 kids, and they're beautiful kids. They have the cutest kids. Um, and they're all going haywire. And it was the first time I thought, holy shit, my mom had 4 kids and nobody to fucking help. Like there was, and it was,
Oh
can you
yeah,
imagine what that would be like these days?
it sounds impossible.
Impossible. And our parents were able to do that kind of stuff. But it was the first time that I had like even had a perspective moment like that was that clear, you know?
Oh yeah, just
So for you to have that, I think is pretty cool that you think like, oh, what my parents must have went through, you know? Because it's like, yeah, it's like for us, it's a sibling, but for them, it's like, you know, it's probably something that feels far greater, you know?
yeah.
Anyway, I didn't mean to delve into that, man.
No, I'm glad we did, and I think it's a really interesting thing to talk about, and for me, I you know,
I bet
it's
you'd be
not
so
something
proud of you.
oh,